Okay, welcome everybody to another video of Film Addicts. This is Chili.
I'm Kent.
And this is part 4 of a 4-part series of Indiana Jones. This one is called The Crystal what?
Crystal Skull.
The Crystal Skull. Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull. And before we get into this, please don't forget to hit the like button, comment on this video, share this video, and if you still haven't, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell for updates. Okay, so what are your thoughts on this final, well, not final, there is a new one coming. There's a 5th one this summer, I believe. This is number 4 though.
So, originally when this movie came out, there was a lot of bad news afloat about this film, and I remember watching it on TV. It was like 1 in the morning or
I
something.
saw it in the theater, and I wasn't at first. I didn't really. It was so different than the other ones. Like it was, because even the second one was different. But now I saw some comparisons from all of them on this one. However, it was just, I don't know. I think that the whole science fiction thing kind of threw it out on left field. Like it was so out there. That was so weird. But watching it again, it didn't. It does kind of work well with the others.
I think watching the other movies back to back kind of did justice for this one. They kind of help it stand up higher.
Yeah.
So like I said, when I watched it at 1 in the morning, I mean, I'm usually up late, so I don't typically like fall asleep right away anyways to a good movie if it's on. And I remember falling asleep to that. And I remember it was on later on, and I watched it like a bit of it, and then I got bored of it. I don't know, but it held my attention more because I was able to notice more because of the other movies that we just watched leading up to this.
Yeah, and even though it's set in the 50s, it kind of, they brought back some old characters, some of the old characters they kind of did a tribute to, like Marcus. You know, he passed on, and his dad, he's no longer there, and
And it wasn't just like they brought him up and then they were done with him. They brought them up like multiple times, right?
Yeah.
So Marcus has a statue at the college, and during one of the scenes, the statue's chase scene, the head comes popping off, and I don't know. It was cool. I thought it was cool how they did that, and they were also brought up some reference to Indy's dad.
Yeah, they showed a picture of him.
Yeah. But there was also, I think, another reference later on in the movie, too, that they talked about.
They show the Ark.
The Ark, yeah.
That one just keeps on popping up.
We actually got to, see the warehouse. That was pretty nifty.
Yeah. And I think it was the whole nuclear bomb thing.
Well, look, anyway, we'll start there. The beginning of every Indiana Jones movie is pretty solid, right?
Well, this one wasn't that bad.
This one, if I had to leave them, I guess, stack them all up, this one and the second one, I think were the worst.
They're like standalones, but they're not. This one is sort of a standalone, but they do bring back Marion.
When I think about the, and I'll get to that. When I think about the nuke scene where he's in the nuke town, I already thought in the second movie when they're in the airplane, right, and then they get on a raft. They're on a raft and they're just flying in the sky on the raft, somehow holding on. The raft's not flipping or nothing.
It was flipping, but they were holding on.
And they landed gracefully in the water, and they were fine. But in this one, he gets into a refrigerator. I understand the whole oh yeah, you'll be able to. I get you can survive radiation to a degree, because it helps against radiation. But the force of a nuclear bomb, and you see the fridge flying, hitting the ground, bouncing off.
And the car.
And you see the cloud, the cloud you see in the background. He's just looking out when he gets out. How far was he blasted? Because the radius of that bomb, even the guys in the cars couldn't get away. They got caught up in it, and they were hauling ass.
That was on the impact.
But there were characters though that I thought were enjoyable.
What about the woman? That Russian one.
The Russian, the villain. The whole psych thing. oh yeah, Stalin. That you guys had. She made an Oppenheimer reference and was talking about nuclear weapons and stuff. And it's like we wanted to do psychological warfare, and she's trying to. What was kind of irritating to me is they made reference. They brought up like a talking point, or she did, that she can break minds. Like she can somehow she's like she has these telepathic abilities, but it didn't really. I don't know. It didn't. It wasn't displayed well. It just kind of was goofy. Oh, you have a strong mind. He has a weak mind. But I don't know if in the movie they actually showed it working. Whatever she does.
Got fucked over by the aliens.
I know she got fucked over by the aliens, but before that, like throughout the movie, did she actually use those powers and did they work? I don't recall seeing her actually do anything. No.
I think she was practicing it or something.
I don't know if it's just me, but her accent sounded like really bad.
And then there was the big Russian guy.
Yeah, he was very forgettable.
Yeah.
Villains were the one who the best villain, if you want to call him, was Mac, the traitor, because that's a great actor. If you've ever seen The Departed, he's Jack Nicholson's right hand man in The Departed.
Okay, that's what I think.
And he's a solid actor, and you can already tell Indy's made a lot of friends throughout the film. So the fact that we don't necessarily even know him, just the way they interact, that you could tell. Okay, they've been
and they were talking about him. The feds were talking about him to him, and so I mean, it brought him into the 50s, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, it was cool. I like what Indiana Jones movies are cool when they end up doing like cultural references. So you had the Greasers versus the Jocks.
Yeah, that was cool. And his son, I thought the character was good. They didn't make him so obvious. I mean, as far as like, he's inheriting, Ravenwood, who's her dad was some smart professor that he used to mentor Indy.
Yeah.
And then Indiana Jones and his lineage and stuff. But he's just like, he's smart, but he's just like, wants to do his own
And she's
thing.
the best heroine of the entire series. Like, the fact that they brought her back, and that's who, spoiler alert,
right.
Yeah. So, Shia LaBeouf, who is like one of the earlier characters that we're introduced to, who gets Indy into this whole entire mission, so to speak. He needs help locating his mom, right? Because she's been taken hostage. There's something about this item, which
they're bringing. He brought up that old guy who couldn't. The other professor who couldn't remember shit. He was just all screwed up by his skull.
Come to find, the KGB knew that she had some information, and they set it all up for him to get this letter to find Indiana Jones. And then he tells Indy, Mary, which is his mom, told me to seek you out. And then Indy makes a sly remark like, hey kid, I know a lot of Marys. And Shiloh doesn't take that so kindly. He's like, don't talk about my mom like that. He's a very tightly wound character, and as we know, Indy is go with the flow type of guy. So they have some personality traits that clash, but they do well off of each other. I could see those interactions being, it's not cringy, I guess I want to say.
It worked. It's sort of just similar to him and his dad. Because at first it seemed like it didn't really mesh well, but then it's like, yeah, it does make sense. Him and Sean Connery, his character. And he kind of said the same line, this is intolerable. And Sean Connery said that to him when they were in the middle of a crisis. And so it's kind of...
We went from Nazis to
Russians,
to communists,
Ukrainians,
Russians,
or whatever.
Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And
they had the little references too about how the state of the world was in the States, where everyone was against red and communism, and in the schools, and it's totally different now.
Oh yeah, because there's like when they were hunting like the Hollywood actors, whoever's associated with it. So at one point they think that Indy has ties because he's known Mac for so long, and Mac is like a traitor to the U.S. and there's a lot of people being influenced to switch sides for capital gain. You have Indy who survived a nuke and all this other stuff, and they call it like the CIA. I don't know if they're the CIA at this point, but I believe Indy served with the OSS, which was the OSS was the CIA before it was the CIA. I thought it was cool that the older general guy walks in, he's telling the suits like, this is Indy fucking Jones, man. Like, look at his track record, look at all his medals. This is somebody that it would not be a communist. So there's this, that feeling where everyone's paranoid in America.
Yeah.
Who's a communist? If Indiana Jones could be a communist.
Yeah, because he is just, even though he's an archaeologist, he's sort of just an American hero.
And that because that's the very beginning of the movie, and what's cool too is the dean of the school tells him, hey, I have to let you go. And Indy's like, what are you talking about? After all these years, you didn't fight for me? And even the dean's like, I resigned. So at this point in his life, everyone pretty much that knows him well respects the hell out of Indiana Jones. We had the general, we had the dean, right?
Yeah.
And I think even Mac, the traitor, was trying to persuade. I don't think he really wanted to kill Indiana Jones. I think he was trying to.
He's out for the gold.
I feel like he was almost trying to persuade him throughout the movie. Like, come on, man! Like all this money. Like the museums would sell their soul for these type of artifacts. He didn't come off as like, I want to kill you.
Yeah. He still needed him to get him through to where he needed.
Yeah, I mean, if he died, he died. I think, but I bet he would prefer to stay wealthy and also Indy stay alive.
Yeah.
But cool motorcycle scene.
There was a lot of action.
Yeah, a lot of action.
Even from the very beginning. I mean, it was the introduction of him was really cool, but then it just kept on going, especially right after, from the time they went to the graveyard and after that, it was just a constant, one situation into another. The ant scene, they always have whether it's bugs or rats or snakes.
We did see the snake reference get brought up again. They're stuck in the pit. What kind of, it was sand pit?
A sand pit, a dry sand pit.
Okay. And he was saying, oh, it's all okay as long as there isn't any, I suppose, gaps. Because if there's like these gaps, there was another name for it, but it causes you to sink quicker. And he throws the snake. And this is at that point in the movie, that's when Miriam from the first movie ends up stating, like, he's your son, because she thought that she was going to die. And Shia LaBeouf's character got out of that pit, runs back, throws him a snake, and he's like, say it's a rope, because he doesn't want to hold on to the snake to get out. So...
It's a rope.
It's a rope.
So what do you give this one?
This one... Because I do want to talk about some things I didn't like before I...
Okay.
Because I think that based off the rating I'm about to give it, you would think there were things I didn't like about it. The whole... When there's this back and forth with the skull, going between the Russians and then going back with Indy's crew, because they're fighting for it. There's a whole car chase. Yeah. Shia LaBeouf's character ends up, or Junior, which later... But he ends up getting strung up by a vine in the forest. And I think, okay, he's out of the chase. The cars or the vehicles are long gone.
And then he moves with the monkeys.
Then he makes friends with the monkeys, I guess, and he starts Tarzaning it out. And conveniently, he goes in the direction out of the forest where I guess the vehicles made a big wide circle backwards and around, and right where he was leaving... These movies always have they always have over the top stuff, but I can deal with over the top if it's cool. I guess there's cool things with Indiana Jones. Like, okay, the 3 waterfalls, it's over the top, but it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Shia LaBeouf just going through the forest,
he's
like
following
Tarzan.
the monkeys, though.
He's following them, and the monkeys team up with him. I mean, it's that. That's the sort of stuff I think if you really like the second film, you'll like to see in this movie, because this movie does have
Why do you connect that scene with part 2?
Because there are scenes where I think some people will find it fun, but I find it over the top silly,
Okay.
and that was over the top silly for me.
Okay, not the ants.
The ants as well. You see the guy, he gets lifted up by he gets dragged into the tunnel. It reminded me of that stupid scene in Scorpion King. There was a scene in Scorpion King which was also
I think they all
ridiculed.
Steal from Indy. I mean, Indy was the first one. So what was that the only?
So
I think it works well if this was the last movie, though.
Oh well, yeah. Well, that was another thing. That the way that they ended it, I thought, okay, I could live with this being the final chapter of Indiana Jones, and maybe a Shia LaBeouf side movie. That'd be cool because they set it up. He's finally a married man. You could tell he wanted a kid too because he wasn't against the idea. He was already. Well, because you're going to school.
There's that one scene where the dean was saying you've gotten to the age where you stop receiving things, but
you get to the age where life stops giving you things and starts to take things instead.
Yeah. And so then here he goes. He has something.
Mm-hmm.
Life's giving him something.
Yeah, but you got the marriage. He has a son. His son. The hat rolls in at his feet like he's going to carry on the footsteps. And we obviously know that Shia LaBeouf, if you don't know this, has gone down an interesting path in life, and he's been far removed from Hollywood.
Well, I think he acts still. He doesn't do movies.
There was a huge falling out. He was getting very spiritual. He was going around the world. He was hanging out with tribes. He had documentaries. He got into drugs really heavy. I'd be awesome to see him in another movie, but I don't believe I don't see him working with a big movie
sure.
company.
I mean,
he's made B movie like these very indie.
I know that they're bringing back Sala in the new movie.
Okay.
So who knows? I mean, I'm sure he would do it. I mean, however, we don't even know what the. There's really been no talk about the new movie. There's that trailer, and it has Sala, but yes, it could have been great if they just ended it right here. We'll see what.
Well, okay, so bad things real quick where there was a few over the top goofiness scenes going on. I thought the villains were kind of No, they didn't really do it for
Nazis.
me. They weren't Nazis, no. They just didn't feel evil enough, I guess.
But it's a PG movie. It's a lighthearted adventure.
PG-13.
PG-13. But however, I mean, okay, if you would have to rank them, where would you put this one?
Give me just a brief moment. You think about that too.
Okay.
And then first one would be first. The third one would be second. The second one would be third, and this one would be fourth.
Where it is.
Yeah, where it is. I still think this isn't a bad movie, but like it doesn't have that feel to me as if it's like a big blockbuster classic.
Well, it's weird
movie.
because it's like I did like the second one a lot, but after like you're saying seeing them consecutively like this, the second one is not up there.
Well, this because we talked about this. The second movie is it could be a standalone adventure.
Yeah.
So when I watch them all together, it doesn't hold up as well. But if I'm watching the second one, like not trying to watch the other Indiana Jones movies, I think it's far better. This one, if I don't want to watch this movie with the rest of the Indiana Jones, it probably falls a lot shorter.
Well, the thing is though, if you watch these films,
yeah,
You would have to watch the second one first because the timeline, the year, for some reason they started that one earlier than the first movie. You know what I mean? So if you watch the second one first, then you watch Raiders, then you watch the third one, and then you watch this one fourth, of course, then it would make sense. So that's how I would.
Okay.
It's sort of just like when how we watch the Star Wars movies, the machete version. You know, you could watch the Star Wars and then Empire, then go back to 1, 2, and 3, and then go back to 6. So if you watch the second one first, and then you watch Raiders, and then you watch Crusade, and then this one.
I also like the motion picture themes and
Yeah,
sounds.
the way it's still familiar. They kept it consistent. You know, hopefully they'll do this one, but there's a lot of talk about a lot of CGI.
I suppose a big gripe I have with it is I almost think that Indiana Jones was milked too much, because by the time I'm starting this movie, I almost feel like leave him alone. Just let's just have the trilogy. Because once you get past the trilogy, you got to do something almost drastically different, or else it starts to become
You mean
monotonous.
even after this one, the Crystal Skull?
This one was already starting to feel a little monotonous to me. You could almost predict everything. Okay, there they are. They're gonna go find the item, and guess what's gonna happen? There's gonna be Russians out there with guns. Like every movie, they find the item, they do all the heavy lifting, and then boom, there's the enemy. There's a formula to it, and the formula is fun, but it gets to the point when you're watching all these movies back to back, it's a little irritating because it almost takes the fun out of it.
I think they still had something, new to say. Not new to say, but new in the sense of adventure. They were still coming up with things, and even like the ants, or they'll do something the same but in a new way. And then bringing back some familiar characters is always good. But I felt like this one was a closure.
Her role though wasn't. I don't know. She could have had a bigger role, I suppose.
I think what her role was, though, it did evolve.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been dumb if she was still like the drunk bitch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So she did go through motherhood and all kinds of other things, and they kind of talk about, she married this English guy or whatever, and she went on with her life.
Where would you rank these? 4.
I think I would just watch them the way, like how I mentioned, like 2, 1, 3, and then this.
So that's how 2 is your favorite.
2 is my favorite, and
Okay.
then just the way that these films are the way they should be viewed would be like that,
And that's also the way you enjoy the movies, though. You like, in terms of which ones are the best, too.
Yeah.
So the way you think that they should be viewed is also. Okay.
I like the second one just because it was just its own little thing, and it was darker, and it had, some interesting characters. She may have been the girl in the second one
Was the most annoying
was the
female
most annoying
character
one,
in all of Indiana Jones, but okay.
But I don't know. It's the first one is great because it started it all off. But I'm just gonna go with that. The way
First one was the best one, man. Evil Nazi with a coat hanger. It doesn't get better than that. So with that being said, my rating for this.
I give this one 3 stars.
I was gonna say something like that too, like 3. I was debating 2.9, but the way it ended with the marriage and everything, and I just think about the completion. If I were to say this was like the completed story, I'm gonna say 3. But if the next Indiana Jones movie That's the thing. That's why I don't
Well,
like
that's
the new Star Wars. I don't like.
Well, that's the thing because they did bring up Sean Connery's character in this one, and Marcus.
I swear though, if in this next Indiana Jones movie it starts off with, my wife died, or we got divorced, and my son died, and like there's just like quick little references, and they're not involved at all in the story. And it's Indiana Jones as an old guy. I mean, I can go on and on about the way.
So
they
I mean, just like a Rocky film.
Well,
when he's all by himself.
It takes out the meaning from other movies. Like if Star Wars, for example, when they bring back the Emperor, it pretty much Darth Vader failed. The whole point of Darth Vader was to kill the Emperor and bring balance, but he only brought temporary balance. I don't know. It was dumb. So I hope they don't end up taking out a lot of the oomph from the Indiana Jones movies with this next one. That's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, and the way that how everyone's speaking about it on the internet is pretty much going to be a Kathleen Kennedy kind of
shit show.
Shit show.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll see.
What a hypocrite too, because the second movie, her involvement, right? She was a producer on that one.
Yeah, and this one as well. And a lot of them.
Just whatever sells. So whatever, and that's why a lot of these newer movies from these big Hollywood companies, like if you want to talk about good movies, something that we should probably check out, like newer movies, the A24 films are
they're pretty
bangers, because it's like a Twilight Zone episode. Every movie, it's a new original story, and there's a lot of like weird stuff going on. It's abstract. All of these recycled '80s classics for these newer movies, right? For like, oh, we gotta make them.
You know what? No, I think they're bringing these back and destroying them. They're on purpose. They're doing their woke campaign, and they're taking Star Wars. They destroyed that one. They're going to destroy Indiana Jones. And that's a lot of talk that's going on right now. I mean, he's the last white male, character who's an American hero. They kind of make him seem that way in this film, and so insert the woke fucking propaganda crap, and I'm sure they're gonna just because what was it they were saying that he's gonna be turning into a woman. They're gonna turn Indiana Jones into a woman. Yeah.
Now I feel like we're getting into like some conspiracy.
No, it is. They showed a screening of the film to audiences, and
I gotta Google this.
I'm not making this shit. You can't make this shit up.
I'm Googling this.
And then after that, the audiences hated it. And so, are they going to keep it though? What? That he turns into a woman at the end of the film to keep it going on because they want to make a series on Disney? So
but Harrison Ford's Indiana Jones is like.
That's what I'm saying. But that's the.
Oh, you're saying they want to. No. I see this. Indy's being joined by a female partner.
No, has nothing to do with it. But they showed this film in a private screening to people, and it's just like when you get to see a film.
What they're saying is it looks like there's this female lead.
Yeah, there's a female
who's going to be like in the movie who's going to end up replacing him.
Well, I don't know if it's replacing him, but they're saying something about the way that they viewed the movie, the audiences, and it was leaked out that it was Indiana Jones because they de-age him. They do some time travel in the new one. There's another thing.
No, I'm over here like, are you saying they're gonna make Harrison Ford go through a transition?
Yes. That's what I'm saying. There's this woke fucking campaign that's going on, and people are saying leave Indy alone.
Reminds me. What was it? It was a South Park episode, and if anybody you might not like South Park, but they had Steven Spielberg and I think it was George Lucas, and it has Indiana Jones, and he's getting his character's getting raped in South Park, right. And it's just like, hey, Indy, like just leave him alone, leave Indy alone. But that was because of this movie, I think, and a lot of the other garbage movies and it's just getting worse.
But they have an agenda though. This is I mean, look at Rey. That was awful of this in Star Wars movies. But we'll wait and see. Hopefully they changed it and they didn't transition him into a woman at the end. We'll see. Because Indiana Jones, just leave him alone. Just let him be an old man and die.
If it went that far, because I'm almost not 99.9% positive that won't happen, but if for whatever reason I'm wrong and that were to happen, I wouldn't even be mad. I would just start kind of laughing. It would just go in my book as the Terminator movie where
we just stop.
Where John Connor dies in the first 10 minutes.
Well, I never seen it.
They don't call it. It's not part of the series. It's just you're gonna kill John Connor right off the bat, and then they replace him. And that. Oh, it's a different timeline. It's a different
they got
universe.
3 women.
It's garbage.
Yeah, they do like that with Ghostbusters, and they were all women, and they just keep changing everything.
Well, no, then they did the one with the kids, and that one did well. That was a good.
That
movie.
one was good. They redeemed it because they brought some characters from the old films, and
because it was a complete continuation.
It was a continuation.
It wasn't like a retelling with modern.
With women.
Political, correct, all this other stuff that comes with it. But with that being said, I think we're going to end our rant on that.
And so...
Thank you for stopping by.
Thank you for stopping by. Leave us a comment on this. What are your thoughts on Indiana Jones? Did it end? Should it have been at the end of the Crusade? They would have just left it alone? And now are they just stretching it or just bringing it in and just is it too much? I don't know. I thought it was still good up to this point with the story with Marion, bringing her back.
I think although it could have been done a little bit differently, and I thought that was a little rushed the way they got back together. I will say though, it was a satisfying ending in terms of his journey. He now has a son. You can continue the adventures with. He has his wife. He's back at the school. He's a dean now. Everything was just satisfying. It just felt you could close the book and just push it away. It's one of those stories I really don't look forward to another movie because it was finished in a way where I can accept that. Same thing with how freaking Star Wars ended. I'm not going to go on my rant, but I'm just saying there are stories that end in a very nice way.
We're going to have to do the Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
Machete way.
Okay.
And so with that, we'll shut up and we'll see you guys on the next one. Bye.
Okay.